You seem to still be up there somewhere.
Maybe I am. There are flying saucers.
Supposing they're Martians or something in there.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Asherz, and this is...
Tobias.
Tobias, how was your weekend?
Oh boy, my weekend was good. You know, it was relaxing. It's that time of year, which I think I've mentioned before, where I kind of take it a little easy. You know, I just submitted the manuscript for my next book, and so and the holidays just ended, and so I like to take that time and just kind of relax. And so I don't generally have a lot of very exciting things to report. I've kind of got some ideas percolating for my next book. I think I've landed on the subject. So actually, well, I guess now is as good a time as any. If anybody who is listening wants to reach out to me about any experiences that they have had with shadow people, then please do so. You know, you can email me at info@singularfortean.com. That's info@SINGULARFORTEAN.com, or find me on social media. Just DM me or something. But yeah, I want to start collecting stories of shadow people and encounters with shadow people, or shadow people if they have been experienced around any other type of phenomenon. Doesn't matter what it is. You know, if you are an alien abductee, but you've seen a shadow person, I want to hear about that. If you lived in a haunted house with shadow people, I want to hear about that. You know, yeah. Reach out to me. This is something that is kind of personal to me. I've had numerous experiences with shadow people and whatever that phenomenon represents throughout my life, and so that's going to be, of course, incorporated into the work as well. So, you know, if you're feeling a little nervous or something, it'll be from one experiencer to another. So hopefully that helps alleviates any fear you might be feeling there. Otherwise, the only thing I did over this weekend is I had some friends over, and we played one of our nerd games. We played some Traveler Second Edition from Mongoose Publishing, and if you're not familiar with Traveler, it is like it's the sci-fi tabletop role-playing game. It's been around since like 1981, and it's absolutely fantastic. It you know, we really just got through character creation, because character creation, I'm not going to go on a whole thing about this, but I could. It's this really fun process where it's like this life path system, and you basically generate an entire life, an entire history for this character through a series of like die rolls and decisions and things. So that was super fun, and I look forward to playing more Traveler, and you know, in between investigating people's shadow person experiences, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Is this a teaser? The shadow people thing? Is this a teaser of things to come?
Yeah, well, it's just
Okay.
an idea I had for the next thing that I wanted to work on, and so I want to see. You know, I just wanted to see how many people would be willing to talk about that. And I have a feeling that hopefully it's quite a few. You know, when I did Unsolved Mysteries, I mentioned shadow people as like a throwaway line, because they asked me about my fucking background, and so like I just mentioned it real quick. You know, experiences with shadow people throughout my life, and probably as many people reached out to me about having experiences with shadow people as did Mothman. So you know, they're out there. It's a common experience, and it's one that I would love to examine more fully. And it's also one that you see across all aspects of paranormal studies, right? So that's why I mentioned that specifically. Like, if you are a UFO witness, but you've also seen shadow people. If you're an alien abductee and you've also seen shadow people, if you lived in a haunted house or been to a haunted location or whatever, you've also seen shadow people. If you've seen shadowy figures in the fucking woods when you're out Bigfoot hunting, like, I want to hear about all of it, because this phenomenon, whatever it is, does seem to exist simultaneously in every paranormal space. And the only the only narrative that we have for it now is whatever people existing in that space apply to it. So, if you've got shadow people and you are an alien abduction experiencer, then people are going to essentially relegate that to the alien abduction experiences, and they're going to say, like, okay, well, that is a screen memory, or you saw shadowy aliens or something. But the truth is, we don't have any fucking idea, right? Like, we have no idea at all. And so being able to hear from a variety of people who have had shadow people experiences from a variety of backgrounds in a variety of settings associated with a variety of weird phenomena, I think would be really, really interesting. So that's what I'm hoping to get.
I think that you're gonna have lots of communication about it. I feel like shadow people is like probably the most common report that I get, and it's not my personal interest. So if I get any, I'll send them over to
Sure.
you. But I feel
Thanks.
like it's very common. It's just, I don't know. It's something that people tend to experience, and I think you're right. It definitely is involved in multiple other sets of phenomena, and not. I mean, sometimes it's its own thing, but I do think that we see it across the board everywhere. And who are these fucking people, right? Maybe it's time they come out of the shadows, huh? What about that? What do you think
Oh,
about that,
book
shadow
title.
person?
Book title right there. Out of the Shadows.
You're welcome.
Copyright Tobias Wayland 2025. I will get my lawyers on your ass so fast if I see anybody else fucking using that.
Well, heard it here first, folks. It's legally binding, verbal contract there, whatever. I don't
Yep.
know.
I called it. It's called copyright dibs. That's a legal term.
That's
And it means I'm the only one that gets to use it. So fuck off.
But yeah, I think that you'll be successful. So there you go, people. Contact Tobias Whalen about your shadow person, people, and you can hear Tobias's personal accounts on the show. Actually, I don't remember what the title of that episode was, but it had the word Tobias in the title.
I
So
forget. It was something like a very handsome genius, the world's most handsome genius. It's like something like that. And then colon the Tobias Whalen story.
there you go. That's. I'm about to go change the name of it real quick. Exactly. A very handsome genius, something like that.
Right. Or whatever. The Tobias Whalen story.
Yes, the Tobias Whalen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go listen to it. And then that way, he's not bullshitting. I mean, I guess he could be, but he's not.
That's
probably
true.
right. He's not. You're not making enough money to bullshit. So
No, it would very much not be worth it. So, no, I'm very much in that camp of people who have had an authentic experience, or in my case, a series of authentic experiences that I can't explain. But I try to remain open to all possible explanations, which means that I spend probably more time doubting myself than is necessarily healthy. But you got to do it. So,
well,
yeah.
I was gonna go to the nerd bar this weekend.
Yeah, what the
I've
fuck? Why
talked
didn't you go to the
about.
nerd bar? I saw you post on social media.
Yeah, and I was going to, but then my cat decided to have an old man day, and
Oh,
he has those. He will be 15 in June, and he has a large mass growing on his side that we've been kind of dealing with. So, it's been interesting. Some days it's like, oh God, I have to take him to the emergency vet today, don't I? That sucks. And some days it's like, maybe he can wait a little bit longer so I can at least save up the surgery money and get him in there, So every day is kind of a gamble. He is doing great today. So
well, I'm happy
oh,
to hear that. How old
you
is
know.
he?
He'll be 15 in June.
Ooh,
So
yeah,
yeah,
that's
he's getting up there. His brother. I have two of the same cat,
Mm,
and they're brothers and they're litter mates, and his brother's also his age, obviously, and he's perfectly fine. He's totally living his best life, still very energetic. Spooky, on the other hand, he is very much an old man. Now, he's kind of been in
yeah.
his old man phase forever. But like, if any inconvenience happens, it like destroys his whole body. So like, we had that kitten for a while, and then he suddenly lost a bunch of weight, and but he's gaining weight back again, and it's like, okay, I don't understand what's happening here. So
Right.
his mass, initially, I took him to the vet last year in June, and for the mass situation, and well, he had a lot of pain. He's got arthritis, real bad in his back legs, and I went and they did an x-ray, and they were like, well, the really good news is that whatever this mass is, it's not attached to like any organs. Like, it is between his organs and the skin. Like, it's not, and that's good. And I'm like, okay, great. So initially they were like, well, and he hates the vet. They're like, if we don't have to do surgery on him, we really don't want to. So let's just kind of watch it and see how it goes. Well, it's grown like 3 times the size it was since then. So
Mm,
we're probably going to have to at least get it removed at minimum and then go from there. They don't want a biopsy because it's where it's at. It'd be intrusive anyway and cost the same amount to just remove it. So
right.
anyway, so that's okay. If you guys want to help support that, patreon.com/Wednesdays Talk. Go subscribe. I can certainly use the funds. Elderly animals is hard,
It
Um,
is. Yeah.
it's one of those things. It's like, you just never know what it's going to be. But like I said, he's doing great right now. So that's fine. Did not go to the nerd bar. That's okay. The good news is it's still right across the street from my house. So maybe I shouldn't tell you guys that. But it
I would
is.
go like every day if I fucking live. I would go too much, probably.
Well, that's the problem, is that I go to a bar and then I drink, and then drinking is expensive, and I got a cat surgery to pay for. So it's like, oh fuck.
Right.
you know. So anyway, so I didn't go yet. I will, I promise. Other than that though, it's okay because I've had my fucking hands filled with an investigation, and I'm not going to tell you guys about it this week, because you are going to learn all about it next week. So,
Haha. Teaser.
exactly. Well, guess what, Tobias? If people were on the Patreon, they would already know what the fuck I'm talking about, right?
That's an excellent point. If people were on the Patreon, not only would they know about this investigation that you are fucking elbow deep in at this point, but they would be able to listen to not one but 2 installments of me reading Mothman reports received by the Unsolved Mysteries production crew after our episode aired. So, I mean, that's a couple of pretty solid reasons right there, I think,
you know.
for folks to consider joining.
Well, and they could have had this whole episode ad free.
What? That's too much. We gotta get rid of one of those things. That's too generous.
Treating us too, spoiling you over here.
Right.
But I'm just saying, right? If you were there, you would already known about it. But now you're just gonna have to wait a whole another week to find out what the fuck I'm talking about. Then you're still gonna get ads. So I don't know what you're waiting for. Again, patreon.com/Wednesdays Talk. It's a good decision. It's a good move.
It is. It's the right decision for
It's
you
the right
and your
decision.
family.
So anyway, yeah, it'll be super exciting. It'll be a fun time. So that's what I've been doing.
Great. Well,
That
what
was-
about anything else that's been going on? For instance, something in the realm of paranormal news.
Oh, paranormal news. Well, yes. So this isn't actually, well, it could be paranormal news. I don't know. We'll see. So in 2014, a big event happened, a big event that was in the news and all over the internet. There was a stabbing that went down. Yes, I'm talking about the Slender Man stabbing. You
Oh shit.
probably
Yeah,
know all about this because
I
you
do.
live in Wisconsin, and that's
I
where it
sure do.
happens.
Yes, it
You know.
did. No, this has been a big deal in the Wisconsin subreddit lately with people talking about it, but I don't want to interrupt. You go ahead.
I appreciate it. Well, this week, Morgan Geyser, one of the two 12-year-old girls who both colluded to stabbed their friend after a sleepover, mostly because of Slender Man. They believe that if they stabbed their friends, they could become proxies of Slender Man. If you don't know who Slender Man is, Slender Man, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, my God, Google it. But, we'll just break it down a little bit. Slender Man is a creepy pasta. And creepy pasta is not that shit that you stuck your hand in elementary school and they told you it was intestines. Creepy pasta are, scary internet stories. These are fictional. We know they're fictional. We can track where they come from, who wrote them most of the time. Slender Man got really popular because of a photo contest that was happening back in the day with Photoshop, where there was, this creepy humanoid figure dressed for business, though. I gotta give him that.
It's true. He's very fashionable.
He is. He's there to conduct business, but he was hanging out at a playground, and that's not really okay,
Ooh.
right? For a Slender Man to do.
If you're an internet monster who's all business at the playground, that's sending the wrong vibe.
That's you're doing, that's not okay. Anyway, so they stabbed their friend, right? And then they ended up in prison. The other girl was already released back in 2021, and I feel like that kind of didn't, like, I feel like nobody really talked about that when it happened. I mean, some people did, right? People that are like in the know about it, but like, I don't know. Either way, the second girl, Morgan, she is set to release from prison, and or she's not in prison actually. She's in like an institution, like a mental institution, and has been since she was convicted, because she does. Morgan does have schizophrenia and does have, things where Anissa, I don't know how to say her last name, Weir, I think. I don't think she was ever given like a heavy diagnosis like that. And she was kind of more of the ringleader. So what publicly people would normally perceive the more dangerous of the two ended up getting out earlier, which is very, very odd and discriminatory, but whatever. Anyway, Morgan's set to be released this year. They're going to kind of have a hearing in February where they discuss, limitations and expectations and things like that per her release. And people are angry about this. They're really mad. And, I don't know.
Yeah, they were mad a few years ago, at least in Wisconsin. I don't know that it really became a national news story at that time, But yeah, it does seem like I'm seeing more media coverage outside of the state for this than I did back then. So I don't know why. Obviously, like when the story first broke, however many years ago that was now, it was a big deal and it made national news everywhere. But like the first release, yeah, it didn't seem like it was that big of a deal to people other than folks in Wisconsin. There were plenty of people in Wisconsin that I heard from who didn't like it, we'll say. Although, honestly, I've heard from a decent number of people who sort of fall on the side of what is the point of even locking people up if we're not trying to like rehabilitate them?
Right.
Like, what is even the point of our justice system if we're not trying to do that? So if these kids serve their time and they have been, in the eyes of the state, rehabilitated enough to begin to be released back into society, because again, like for everybody who's like super upset about this, they're not just unlocking the door and letting this person roam the streets unsupervised. There will be entry into a halfway house and like a very slow, heavily monitored release into society. But the goal has to be rehabilitation and release and reintroduction into society. Otherwise, what are we even fucking doing here?
Right. Yeah, I agree, heavily. And especially with, all things considered, considering their age, right, during the crime. I'm not saying 12-year-olds get a pass to go kill people. They don't, right? But
this isn't Children of the Corn. Come on.
God, which is a terrible fucking movie, by the way.
Such a bad
I said it before.
movie.
I'll say it again.
We both hate it. It's, yeah.
The worst.
I don't even know why, but now I'm just mad. I shouldn't have brought it up. Fuck you, Children of the Corn.
So whether or not they knew right from wrong, and clearly Morgan, this one that's being released now, is mentally ill, right? So it's like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, well then does that mean that they can't participate in society, or is it that they didn't have proper treatment so that they could participate in society? At the end of the day, you know what? It doesn't matter what you or I or the people of Wisconsin or the people on the internet think. What matters is the victim in all of this, Peyton, who survived the attack. She's a fucking badass. Pulled herself out of the woods after being stabbed, like, I don't remember how many times it was, but it was a crazy amount of
So many
times.
times. So many times.
And fucking dragged herself to the road and got help, and she's alive. That's what matters. And if she felt like she was that, this was still a danger to her, trust and believe that when these people come up for options of release, that's who they contact first.
Yeah.
And they ask their opinion. And, if she's not out there advocating for these people to stay behind bars, and I haven't seen that she has been,
I haven't seen anything either.
we have to trust her judgment, because again, at the end of the day, this is her fucking story. It's not up to us to decide how she feels about it.
Right. Can I just say that is some legitimate like final girl shit too?
Oh, yeah.
Like that is hardcore.
Yeah. It really is. And she's doing great. She's doing great in life. I mean, she's not in the public eye or anything. There's no real reason for her to be. But
No.
there have been little updates about her here and there, and she's done really well. All things considered. So, again, that's it. Again, I could tell you guys my opinion, and it doesn't mean anything. So,
Right.
but that is notable. Sometimes when people bring this up, how it kind of pertains to, of course, weird news, right? We talk about, it's not just paranormal here, it's just anything weird, which is why we're talking about what we're talking about today.
Sure.
But, when it comes to that, there's a lot of people who kind of think that, this situation kind of made Slender Man real. It's kind of the idea of the tulpa, right? Or the egregore.
Boo! Stupid idea. Boo!
I agree. Stupid idea. Slender Man destroys and kills children. These people did it in the name of Slender Man, therefore making him real. You're still not going to catch Slender Man on camera, right? You're still not going to get Slender Man DNA. He's still not real, folks. It's still not.
I mean, look, this may sound hypocritical coming from a guy who is, as often as not, spending his Saturdays pretending to be like a fucking, spaceship captain or, fantasy knight or something, sitting around a table making up stories with my friends. But keep your fucking LARPs to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, stop. Nobody else is obligated to pretend like whatever live action role playing scenario you have concocted to live out the fantasy life that you've always wanted is fucking real. Like, none of us are obligated to pretend like that shit is real. So you start talking about something that has very much affected people's lives in a very negative way. It's a serious fucking issue in terms of your LARPer bullshit. Like, oh no, Slenderman is real now because of fucking tulpas and egregores and some other shit I don't really fucking understand. Not me, you're the one that doesn't understand it if you're saying this, by the way. Just so we're clear. Anyway, so if you want to come out and try to add that narrative to something that is fucking serious and this is real goddamn life, people, then yeah, we don't have to take you seriously, and we're not gonna. So just knock it off. Just quit it. Stop it.
And before you say, long-time listener who's been here a long time, well, Asherz, you and Pat O did that episode about it, and you're the one that brought it up. You're the one that said that, well, it could be. Maybe he is real. You're right, and I'm wrong for that, because I have learned, and Tobias is right. Guess what? I don't know what the fuck I was talking about. Ooh. Man. But you see what happened, you guys? I just admitted I was wrong about something, and everything's okay.
There you
Nothing
go.
changed.
Oh, I've been wrong before, and I will be wrong again. And if it turns out that there are people or there are fictional fucking characters being imagined into existence like a fucking Disney cartoon, I will happily eat crow the day I can shake hands with fucking Spider-Man. But until that shit happens, then I think people need to take a big old fucking step back and stop trying to apply that narrative to otherwise very serious situations like a fucking child being stabbed. Jesus,
Right.
get some fucking
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah. It's exactly, so I hope it doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter what we think. The one girl is released, the other girl will be released very, very soon. And I don't hope that like somebody gets a gotcha moment, right? I hope that they go on to lead very fulfilling, productive lives and that they don't hurt anybody else. Like that's fucking weird for people to want the worst to happen, but people can be rehabilitated. And like Tobias said, if we're not rehabilitating people, I mean, the fact of the matter is, here are the facts of what the law is that they didn't kill that girl. They attempted to kill that girl, which means that they would have gotten out eventually anyway. They're young enough right now to go and make something out of themselves. Like if they are deemed capable of doing that, let's fucking let them do that instead of waiting until they're 70 years old and they got nothing else.
Right.
So, but of course, if anything happens, we'll let you guys know.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay here. Yeah, just stay tuned here for further updates and unhinged rants from yours truly, wherein I just insult random people who may or may not be listening to this show. That's like my signature move. If I was a wrestler, that would be my move. Just insulting people like that I don't know who may or may not be listening to the show.
They would call you the dagger because you got, words like daggers.
That's right. Like, I don't give a fuck. If you believe in tulpas and egregores and shit, like, you take that shit seriously and you think Slender Man is one, you're a fucking joke to me. I don't want to hear about it.
And that's the bottom line. Because Tobias Whalen said so.
That's exactly right.
So anyway, somebody had asked me here, I'll tell a little anecdote. Somebody had messaged me and said, are the winged devourers cryptids? And you know what I'm talking about from Beastmaster.
Oh my
the
God.
Winged devourers.
I love that. No, because they exist. Like, what's his face in the fucking movie? He saw him. He met him.
I like that your answer is no, because they're absolutely real.
In the Beastmaster universe, they are.
Well, and I just kind of, at first I was like, oh my fucking God. I was so annoyed, right? Like, are you fucking serious right now? But I slowed down, right? Because here's the thing. I can't expect everybody to fucking know what a cryptid is. Like, that's silly of me. So, they came to me genuinely wanting to learn, right? They had an actual question. And maybe they were just, being a moron. I don't know. But I had to slow down and give a little grace. And, I feel like the opposite of Tobias. I feel like I should do that a little more often, because I learned too, right? And so,
Sure.
if everybody was an asshole to me because I got something wrong, well, that would be shitty, and I wouldn't like that.
But the difference there is that person came to you with a question. If somebody came to me and was like, hey, do you think that Slender Man could be in an egregore that has sprung forth from the collective consciousness? Then I would very politely explain to them why, no, I don't think that is very fucking likely. It's those people who are like, making their unhinged fucking YouTube videos, screaming about how Slender Man is a fucking egregore or whatever, that are doing the actual harm. And
You're
those
right.
are the people that are a fucking joke to me. Is anybody who thinks that they know something with 100% certainty in this field is a fucking joke. And I'm tired of pretending like they're not.
That's fair. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Well, on to the next bit of frustration. How about we get on with it? I know you guys are waiting. You want to know exactly what we think about the most recent news. So, Tobias, I'm going to let you continue with the news.
Oh yeah. In endless edging news, we did receive the UAP retrieval video, which I'm sure everybody has seen by now. It came out. It was supposed to come out on News Nation last Saturday, and indeed it did. I mean, I guess I don't know what I expected. it sure is some shitty footage of ovoid object in a helicopter sling that could be almost anything. And that's where we're at with it. I mean, literally at this point, that's everything that we know. There are certainly many other things being said. You've probably by this time heard U.S. Air Force, or I'm sorry, former U.S. Air Force mechanic Jacob Barber, who's been making the rounds, claiming that he took part in the retrieval of a similar craft. He said that he left the Air Force shortly after September 11th, like the September 11th, back in 2001, and has since established a cover identity as a civilian contractor. And it really kind of sounds like, and I don't know this person, and I'm not accusing him of anything, but this certainly sounds like the same kind of information, we'll call it, that we've been receiving from people claiming to have been former government contract like employees in these clandestine operations for longer than I've been alive. And look where it's got us. Abso-fucking-lutely nowhere. So it's still a developing story. One thing I will say right now, after having looked at the video, I think it could be a lot of things. I think that there are a lot of opinions flying around right now between believers and debunkers, and the truth probably falls somewhere in the middle. Based on what I saw, it definitely could be a balloon. I think that's an option. I know nobody wants to hear that. I didn't say it is a fucking balloon. I said that it could be a goddamn balloon. So don't bite my head off just yet, true believers. But when you look at the video, you can see the strap. So it's got like this. It's being hung from this helicopter to transport it, and it's got this like rig on it, and the straps you can see are causing indentations in the side of this thing, or at least that's what it looks like to me, which would imply a certain plasticity, certain malleability to this object, whatever it is, which to me would be reminiscent of a balloon. Now, this is all speculation, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if, in fact, this was an actual recovered object, and the recovered object in question was some kind of foreign adversary spy balloon, which would still be a big fucking deal. And we absolutely do have people whose job it is to quickly and quietly get that shit whenever it happens. So that's where we're at with it right now. I will have something written up by the end of this week, because like I said, this is a developing story. When this shit breaks, you're gonna see a bunch of shit flying every which way, a ton of hot takes, but that's not how I do business. I like to let a story develop, and I like for all of the pieces of it to come out, or at least as much as we're gonna get before I actually write something up. I wish more people did that. The fact that they don't is the reason that I do. That's what actually inspired me to start. So yeah, we will see. It'll be interesting, I guess, to see where this goes.
And to note, we are recording this on the 20th, right? This is Monday. By the time you guys hear this, things might be different.
Right.
We don't know what's going to happen in the next couple days. We can't predict the future. I have a pretty good guess, in our installments of Project Blue Balls. Probably not much else is going to come out of it, really.
We'll see.
Like that Project Blue Balls. I stole that from the internet, by the way. It's not mine. But
I know we've made that joke on the show before.
Oh yeah, absolutely, time and time again. But that's what I'm calling it now. Just officially, it's Project Blue Balls.
Sure.
A couple things I want to kind of touch on. Because I did try to verify some information about this guy, but let me tell you guys, I'm so burnt out on Project Blue Balls specifically that it's very tough for me to sit down and like watch this interview. Like I really struggled. I had a hard time. Well, on top of like, we talked about why we do the show and why we do it the way we do it. The comedy angle is that it's just fucking boring and otherwise.
Oh yeah.
But I really struggled to sit down and watch it. And I'll tell you, at the beginning of it, I thought that the Jake Barber was David Grush. I was like, damn, Grush looks fucking off.
They do have like the same shocked look on their face a lot. So
And they're both bald, right? White men.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I
Bald,
was
shocked white men all look the same to me, and I'm not afraid to say it.
I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that's not really him. And then they said his name, and I was like, well, that makes more sense.
Right.
so I kind of went back a little bit, but like one thing that they kept kind of saying in this interview, which so far has been like the only thing that's the only source of information has been this News Nation interview, or special, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And
Yeah.
they kept referring to the video, but they were never like, oh, Jake Barber provided us this video that he took of the object that they recovered. And I thought that that was very strange. So I was like poking around a little bit. And every article I read, none of them said that like he provided that video. And I was like, okay, so where did this video then come from? Eventually, it was kind of tough to get. It does seem there was an article written that does claim that he provided the video. But also, this whole event of how they came across this egg is fucking weird. Did you watch it? Did you watch the special?
No, I haven't yet.
You haven't yet? So, and this is like nobody's really talking about this part. So, what they're saying happened is Jake is out with his group, with his team of people, and they're doing like a CE5 thing. And what Jake is saying is that humans control these crafts with their brain.
I did know that, yeah, based on just on interviews that I've
Just on the
read
snippets and
in
stuff.
articles. Yeah, I'm a read articles guy. I'm not
Sure.
usually a watch videos guy, but yeah, he did say that human beings in the Air Force use psychic abilities to connect with and control these craft.
So what the story is about this craft in particular is they're out there. One of his guys, they're doing their little, basically CE5 is pretty much what it is. And if you don't know what that is, this show is too advanced for you. Catch up. But one of his guys is controlling the craft, and they actually get video of that craft in the sky first, and then the guy starts freaking out. The guy who's in control of the craft starts freaking out, and because he starts freaking out, it loses connection with the craft, and then the craft crashes to the ground, and then that's when they go and retrieve it. It's a fucking wild story. Is what I'm saying.
Right.
I don't know. Gary Nolan has his hand in this. I guess he was there that day or something. I like Gary Nolan so far. I haven't had a reason to not like the guy. He's got some really impressive credentials, right? He's I think a Harvard guy or something. Anyway, I don't remember his whole list of accolades. So I don't know what's going to come out of this. I don't know if anything's going to come out of this from the video itself. I mean, it's just, they keep using this term egg shaped. It's egg shaped. Yeah, buddy. It's just a Godzilla egg, you guys. That's all it is.
It's probably what it is.
It's a Godzilla egg, clearly. Like, it's not fucking aliens. It's just Godzilla.
You better give that shit back, because
Right.
Godzilla will destroy the entire fucking world.
We're already due for a Godzilla attack. Okay, it's been a while. We don't need to be pissing off Godzilla even more. So
no, what I do love about this, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about it for now, because I do want to let this develop and get something written up, and then we can maybe do an update, next week or something. But for anybody paying attention, the narratives used or that are being used now, what you will find if you have been studying this long enough is that they conform to the current expectation. So Now our UFO crash retrievals, instead of involving these purely physical craft that crashed because of maybe some malfunction or being struck by lightning or who the fuck knows what, that have these physical beings inside that we can recover and we've tested or whatever. No. Now CE5 is the new hotness, right? Like that's the shit that people care about. The psychic stuff, like that's where it's at now, right? So those are the narratives that we're getting. And I hope people are paying attention to that shit because it's not a fucking coincidence. So that's all I want to say about it.
That's fair. Yeah. Well, and it's not to say that some type of ESPN or whatever isn't involved. I know it's not ESPN. Don't come for me. I tried to take it seriously.
How dare you? This is fucking serious. We're talking an egg UFO.
It's clearly. And what the fuck happened to it?
Those psychic servicemen and women are heroes.
And I thank you for your psychic service specifically.
Right.
No, really. I mean, it's not like this kind of weird psychic phenomena hasn't been a part of it, before. It's like, again, nothing new, folks. My God, nothing new. When I see people shitting their fucking pants over this, I just feel so badly for you because you're going to be so disappointed. Or you're going to get so wrapped up in your hope that I guess that leads you until you die, I suppose. But
welcome to the endless treadmill, like the endless fucking treadmill of consume product, excitement, disappointment, consume next product.
Yeah.
That's the treadmill you're on. If you're into fucking government disclosure of UFOs, and you'll be on it for the rest of your goddamn life, if you choose to be. So enjoy.
I mean, prove me wrong, right? That's the hope, right? Prove me wrong. But so far, it's not going well. You are currently an experiment. You are a test subject in Project Blue Balls. Congratulations.
Yay.
So anyway,
put that on your resume.
Put it right on your resume. It'll get you all the jobs. Yeah, but like Tobias said, we'll wait, right? We'll let it simmer a little bit and see. Like I said, there's some pieces of information I'd like to verify, because I fucking know that back in the day, not quite back in the day, it was probably like 2020. I read a fucking article with a statement from a representative from the Pentagon that said that they had retrieved crash debris. And what I was trying to do was tie these two things together. I fucking cannot find that article now. I know it was a New York Times article and it was a representative, and I know I've talked about it on the show, and in like the very beginning of the show, you could still find it pretty easily for like the first year. You can't fucking find that shit now. So I don't know if it's like some weird Mandela effect thing that happened. I don't know if I jumped fucking portals or whatever, and now I'm in a different dimension. I don't know what the deal is there. Maybe they just fucking deleted it because they misquoted somebody. I have no idea. But that was like where my brain went to initially with this thing, because I was like, well, is that what they were talking about? Was it him that said it? Was it Jake Barber himself that had said it at the time? But I can't even verify that information. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have that update next week. Again, it's only Monday, and I got my hands fucking full with this other, what I think is a lot cooler investigation and an old man cat. So we'll see what happens.
Excellent. All right. Well, pretty solid newsing all around. I feel like I have currently angered as many people as I likely should, but the episode is far from over. So I guess we'll just see how it goes.
Far from over. See, we don't have Nate tonight, so we didn't have him to tell us that we needed to shut the fuck up. We're already over. Damn it.
I know. We're not doing so bad, but I am trying to steer us back towards the main topic because we really got to get to it.
I appreciate it. That's okay. Yeah, tonight we're going to talk about everybody's favorite secret society, apparently, Bohemian Grove. Tobias, has Bohemian Grove been a topic of interest of yours ever?
You can't exist in this field, especially if you're into like UFOs, because UFOs and conspiracies are so intricately connected at this point, right? Like there's almost no separating them if you're interested in one of those two subjects. I obviously fall on the UFO side of that, but as a result, I have been exposed to a ton of conspiracy literature over the years. And so, yeah, of course, like Bohemian Grove and the fucking Bohemian Society is something that I am more familiar with than probably the average person. Certainly more familiar with than I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh,
Yeah.
these fucking guys. These fucking guys.
these fucking gay guys. We'll get into it.
What?
They're
No, hey, no,
gay.
I don't, what, look,
It's
we're,
fine, but they're
yes, we are,
closeted gay.
yeah, right. Like we are very much, well, I would consider myself like an LGBTQ ally and or at least I try to be a good person. I don't know, whatever that fucking qualifies me for, I guess. So yeah, I don't have any problem at all with the fact that there may be some homosexual hijinks going on here, and of course we will get into that. But if it's a bunch of fucking like Republican politicians who then try to go on to demonize that kind of behavior in
Yes.
public, that's a fucking issue. So anyway.
You said it better than I did, than just screaming that they're gay.
Right,
Also,
gay. Like, well, that
gays.
doesn't send the message that you want it to.
It's the freaking gays. Proud pansexual, by the way. I don't discriminate against whatever genitalia you might have, even if there's multiple. I appreciate that. Um,
Sure.
so anyway, so I'm allowed to say gay. Okay,
Well, anybody's allowed to say gay. That's not a slur.
it's not.
We're just screaming it with no context. Maybe we just add some context. That's all.
So, here's the thing is that I'll tell you, I got my heart broken at one point doing this podcast when we talked about the Denver airport, okay, which is steeped in conspiracy. And man, it really hurt my feelings to find out there's nothing there and they just have a giant horse with giant blue balls on it in the front of the airport for no fucking reason other than because, I conspiracies are an interesting thing. There are some that I subscribe to, and we're not going to really get into that. But I'll tell you, it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare.
Right.
So this was one of those, right? Everybody knows about Bohemian Grove, right? A weird patch of land where just only the elite meet up and they do weird secret ritual stuff together, and that's weird, right? So of course, digging into this. I'm just going to tell you guys up front, it's a lot more boring than you think it is.
So much more boring. Nobody prepares you for how boring it's going to be.
Right. Exactly. And so to understand Bohemian Grove itself, we have to understand the Bohemian Club a little bit. Okay. So the Bohemian Club was founded in 1872. It was mostly... God, I mean, this is really probably simplifying it, but it was for journalists at the time, and kind of what it was a club for the journalists to just kind of meet up after work and fucking not talk about work, like have a drink, have a smoke, right? Talk about art. That's what they cared about. That's why they got into journalism because they cared about art, not all the depressing shit they had to report on. And that was it, right? It was like a book club kind of.
It was like a fancy artists club in a way too, because I mean, like journalists, but also like actors, and it didn't take very long before it was a club for writers and poets and people of that ilk. So I mean,
Well, it started with the journalist, and then
yeah.
the other artists started coming in, and they're like, "Oh, you guys want to hear about my art?" And they're like, "Hell yeah, anything but journalism." And so
that's just what I'm like now. Anything but fucking journalism, please.
anything but that, So then they'd be like, "Well, hell yeah, I got some art to tell you about," And then it just kind of different artists would come in, musicians, and like you said, poets, and it would just kind of grow from there. But that's what it was. I mean, it was just a club for people to and then it kind of transformed into like a club for people to share their art and also talk about art that they enjoyed. And that was that. It was really nothing to it. But as it continued to expand, things kind of shifted pretty quickly into the general demographic of who was kind of invited into this club. And that started with the first summer encampment, really, that they had back in June of 1878. So during that time, one of the founding members of the Bohemian Club, Harry Edwards, he was moving away, right? He was moving cross country, and they wanted to throw him a really big party. So they all got together and, in the redwoods, and they had this big old festival for the guy. They drank and they danced and they arted all over the place, man. They arted that place up.
There art everywhere. I hope they clean that shit up. Were we clear about where this takes place? By the way, so we mentioned redwoods. If you're not
Redwoods, yeah.
familiar with this, this is all in California. It should be obvious once we start talking about all of the artists, but just in
Yes.
case it wasn't.
Yeah, California. Edwards was moving to New York, so he wasn't going to see them. There was no Facebook back then, right? There was no blue sky,
right?
Or whatever.
You've got the San Francisco art scene bleeding into the redwood forests of California is essentially what's happening at this point.
Right. It was kind of some people describe it as like a really early version of like hippies.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yes, hipsters. Well, hipsters come a little bit later.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just saying like synonyms for hippie now.
Yes, whatever it is you call them. Yes, so so they throw this big ass party, and you know what? They had such a good goddamn time. They decided, fuck, why don't we do this every year? Let's do this every year. And they're like, hell yes. So that kind of started their weird summer encampment that they had every single year. And it wasn't that weird at first, right? I fucking know festivals right now that do that shit every year right now. They can go to like this summer,
Sure.
It's everywhere. Summer festival's a good time, but the problem, kind of ended up being is that these people are journalists and artists. They're not made of fucking money. They're not made of money, so
true.
They started kind of getting noticed by some prominent business figures in the area. They wanted to get in on that shit. They wanted to join the club and be able to go to a place regularly and get away from business. But they also had the money to start funding these really fun, summer festivals that they had. And so as the years went on, and I'm kind of skipping a few a little bit, if you really want to learn about that shit, you can. It's on the internet. It's easy to find. But as the years went on, kind of the artists and the journalists started to fade out, and the prominent businessmen started to rush in. So it started being taken over, by people of a minimum wealth, and then, of course, some people of power.
Right. So it was like Burning Man before Burning Man.
It is exactly, and it still is very much Burning Man. But
yeah, like I would say that Bohemian Grove became the rich person's Burning Man, but Burning Man is the rich person's fucking Burning Man. You know what I mean? It's all taken over by tech bros. This is the same fucking thing.
Well, and that's the moral of the story at the end of the day. If you don't think fucking Burning Man's weird, right? If you don't think there's anything shady going, which there is shady stuff going on there, but not in the conspiratorial way. I mean, this is the same thing. It's the same concept.
Yeah.
So, eventually they're having these parties, but they decided to kind of, they wanted a dedicated place they can call home, right? They had a couple, places that they would have the festival every year. It's like the Gathering of the Juggalos, right? For a long time, they had it in Ohio.
Just like the Gathering of the Juggalos.
The Gathering of the Juggalos is probably a lot funner, but
I bet tons more Faygo,
clown titties, and Faygo, right? Everybody's sticky and smells like pot and ass.
Tequila is going to be there. So let's go.
But like everybody knows, the Gathering of the Juggalos, and I know you all know this, they got kicked out of like a lot of places, right? They kept getting kicked out of like different venues, so they have to find a new home every couple of years. They didn't want that shit to happen, right? They could see the future, and they said, we don't want to end up like the Juggalos, and they wanted to purchase their own piece of land.
Right.
So they did. So they did because now they had people that had money that could do so. So they purchased their own little plot of land, and this is where they would continue to have um, their festivals or their summer encampment that they have, which is a 2 week long vacation that they'll take. Now, and this is now what's known as today as Bohemian Grove. It is located in Monte Rio, California to this day. So they bought it pretty early on. They've owned it for, oh God, probably at least 100 years now, I think.
Oh yeah.
It's their area. But the Bohemian Grove situation, it wasn't just for this summer encampment. Anybody that's a member could use it for pretty much whatever the fuck they wanted to use it for.
And we should mention by any member who wanted to use it, we're talking about any man who was a member because only men could be members.
Yeah.
And even, okay, so let's say you are a member of this club. We know you're a man at that point because you have to be. If you even wanted to use this space when the club is otherwise not using it, and you wanted to bring like your wife or something, she couldn't be there past like sundown. It starts getting to be like 8 or 9 o'clock and she has to leave. I don't know what they're doing after dark, although I can imagine where women just are not allowed to be present, but they're not, no matter what, for some reason.
They're absolutely not. And it's like when you're a kid, when you're a little boy, right? And you got your tree house, you got your sign up, no girls allowed, right? But these are grown men. That rule.
It's been this way the whole time.
The whole time. To this day.
Yeah. So from the 19th century to the 21st century, the Bohemian Club, and by extension, every activity at the Bohemian Grove, is no girls allowed. Hell, like people had to sue to get them to hire women to like work there. And even after that happened, they still only let them do certain things that keep them away from like all of the actual activity.
Yeah, it's really wild. One of the cases that they made during being sued was that if they let women come on the property, then they would have to start pissing in an actual bathroom because they just pee outside, and that's like one big like selling point to being a member.
It's my favorite fucking part. Yes, is so you've got all of these rich like businessmen, politicians, entertainers, whatever, professional athletes, and they're like apparently the number one way that they unwind is just urinating outside however they want, like hands free, whipping it around like a helicopter, just any fucking way they want. But they wouldn't feel empowered to do that if there were women around.
They're like, that girl's gonna see my wiener. I don't.
She's like, dude, I don't want to fucking see that shit either. Did you just pee on my shoe? Like, what is this? What's happening here? Put your dick away.
Stench. You know what I mean? Like, it has to fucking stink there. It's gotta smell like straight piss. 100 years of dudes just pissing out there.
100 years of stale 1%er fucking piss, just soaked into the very ether of the area. It's part of the reality now. There's a psychic taint of shitty rich people urine.
Imagine like you got the 5-second rule. You drop something on that ground, you're not eating it, right? You shouldn't.
No, I've actually heard like I found some anecdotal stories from people who had claimed to work there or have done business there, and one of them was somebody who said that they worked for a company that rented them like all of their sound equipment, and they said when they would get the cables and stuff back, it just all smelled like piss.
Oh my god. Ooh. Anyway, so going back to going back to the timeline, because it's such an exclusive club and you have to be a member, things started taking a very interesting turn about kind of the happenings that went on at Bohemian Grove. And one of the biggest claim to fames that they have is that they actually hosted the meeting that started the talks about the Manhattan Project.
Yep.
which is, if you guys don't know, how we created nuclear weapons, basically, and used it to try to destroy the Japanese. Um, and so that's a big deal, right? The Manhattan Project's a big thing. That movie just came out last year, whatever, the Oppenheimer movie. I didn't watch it. I probably won't. I'm not a historical movie type of person.
Yeah.
But everybody else and their mother has seen it, right? Manhattan Project, big fucking deal. And they gloated about this. They still gloat about this to this day. Like, they are so proud of that.
Yeah.
Which is strange because one of their big things is that you check all your business at the door when you show up here. But of course, this was during their off season. It wasn't during their summer encampment. It's because a couple of the people involved in the Manhattan Project were members of Bohemian Club. So they had access to Bohemian Grove. Great.
Right. Like, their literal motto is "Weaving spiders come not here," which, I mean, seriously, you guys are how rich you couldn't afford a writer to get you something better than "Weaving spiders come not here"? That is some fucking weak sauce. Like,
I
what
just
a
thought they
shitty
were
motto.
like a bunch of arachnophobes. You know, if
Yeah,
I'd read
right.
that, I'd be like, oh, okay, they hate spiders. Got it. A lot of people do.
Just arachnophobic misogynists. I don't, what these fucking guys. Anyway, but yeah, no, it was a big deal, and you're right. It is kind of weirdly hypocritical, and like, to put this in perspective, like, this was a big deal. I mean, Oppenheimer was there. Like, the entire S1 executive committee was there, which were basically a bunch of different people from like major universities, think like Yale, Harvard, Princeton, representatives of like different energy companies and stuff, who really like were responsible for laying the groundwork for the Manhattan Project, which, as you know, Asherz already said, led to the development of the atom bomb. So this wasn't a bunch of like nobodies who also thought of this. Like, these were the actual people responsible for that program meeting here at the club, that would then later go on to say, okay, but like, seriously, guys, no business now. We came here to piss outside.
Yep. Pretty much. I mean, but that was kind of, I think that because they claimed it so hard, right? They were so proud of it. This is really what started to get people to kind of look into it a little bit more. Like, what is this fucking place? What's this club about? You're telling me there are these predominant authoritative figures that are meeting up and planning nuclear fucking weapons, and we shouldn't be worried about that, which makes sense. It does make sense that people would have a little bit of concern, but it didn't stop there. The Grove itself is like steeped in symbolism. Like, it is fucking dripping with piss and symbolism. Of course, just awful, terrible time. Of course, one of the biggest things, they've got all these, all these owl statues everywhere, but their claim to fame is a 30-foot hollow owl statue that stands at the head of the Lake of the Grove, and it freaks people the fuck out, and that's okay. A lot of people are freaked out by owls. There's nothing wrong with that. We'll get into the speculations that come later on down the line, but the statue was erected a really long time ago. I think in the 1930s or something like that. But owls are kind of like their mascot around the place.
Right. They claim that it signifies wisdom,
which it does, I guess, is what people say, right? That's a thing about owls
in certain cultures. Yeah, for sure.
So it's like, okay, all right. But then, they would also, whenever they had the summer encampment, they have this weird ritual that they do. And it is weird, I guess, if you're somebody that doesn't really do rituals. It's called the cremation of care.
Oh, this is my favorite. It's so stupid.
It's interesting. It's okay. Hey, I'd go. It sounds all right.
It sounds boring. I don't think I could sit through it. But anyway,
it smells like piss, burning piss.
Everything smells like piss. There's a bunch of rich fucking people that I don't really want to hang out with. And then on top of that, you're gonna make me sit through a fucking play. Yeah, hard pass.
So the cremation of care, basically what they do is they take an effigy of quote unquote care, whatever that effigy happens to be. Most of the time it is a child-like
They
figure.
call it dull care.
Dull care. And what dull care is basically your worries, right? Anything that you've been worrying about for the last year, since last year that you were here and you did this. And they take it and they burn it and quote unquote cremate it right in front of the big owl statue. It's a ritual to banish you of your dull cares. And it's the same thing as like burning your grievances, right? That's something that people do. It's not that weird. They make it weird.
They make it so fucking weird. They put on these weird robes and hoods,
Yeah.
so it looks like a bunch of Klansmen are putting it on.
Yeah.
Even though the ritual technically predates those outfits, I think. Or no, those outfits predate the Klan. It doesn't matter. The point is they put on a bunch of weird fucking like robes and hoods that could be mistaken for like KKK robes and hoods if you didn't know better. And they burn this fucking effigy in front of a giant owl statue. Of course people think that shit's fucking weird.
Yeah. It's but it's very theatrical, but the whole encampment is like the whole 2 weeks that you're there is very theatrical. They put on these plays that they do, right, that they write themselves and then star in themselves, and because no women are allowed, they're also cross-dressing to represent the women in the plays, which is fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with it at all. And I love the idea of just a bunch of little Lord fucking Fauntleroys just prancing around in the woods. And they're just like, like, right? Because that's basically what's happening here. And they're putting on their little plays and they're drinking their fucking tea with their pinkies out and shit and just being like, oh, isn't it lovely? There's no women. Just the fucking best.
So it is strange, but it's just not the strange that you think it is. So, for context, why do people think that it's so fucking weird? What really threw this into major obscurity? Well, 2 words. Alex Jones. Alex fucking
They're making
Jones.
the frogs gay. That's the best.
Well, that's what happens when you piss all over the ground.
That's right. Rich people piss makes frogs gay, and personally, I'm here for it. So
right, totally fine with gay. We love gay frogs.
Absolutely,
we talk weird.
100%.
So in 2000, okay, let me ask you a very honest question, Tobias.
Sure.
You know who Alex Jones is, right? You've heard.
I sure do. That guy fucking sucks.
Right, terrible. I know that you probably know now because I know you do your research and you do a good job at it. Before this story, did you know who John Ronson was?
No.
Me neither.
Before like looking into Bohemian Grove, no, not really.
Yeah, me neither. And there's a really good reason for that. So let me talk to you guys a little bit. Let me put some information down for you. John Ronson, actually, I'm very interested to read his works now. The guy is a British journalist, right? An author, an investigative journalist. And he has been known for tackling really fringe topics. And so he calls up in the year 2000, calls up his buddy Alex Jones and goes, "Hey, guy, let's go check out Bohemian Grove." And Alex Jones is like, "Fuck yeah." And John's like, "Whoa, chill out." And so they go out and they go to Bohemian Grove. John goes right up to the gates, goes right in. "Hey, I'm a guest here. I'm supposed to be here." Is granted access. Goes and schmoozes with the rich people. Meanwhile, Alex Jones fucking crawls on his belly through the fucking woods because he's convinced that like he's gonna get killed, that these are dangerous people. I don't fucking know. Doing Alex Jones shit, okay?
Just living his best LARP.
And he goes into the woods and he comes upon the cremation of care ceremony and he takes a video of it, goes, "Oh my God, I've got something huge," because he was convinced that they were burning an actual child, that they were really conducting a child sacrifice right then and there. And then he again does
Moloch.
To Moloch, which let's talk about that for a fucking second.
It's the best. Moloch was never represented by an owl. Moloch, first of all, was represented by a bull. And I think the reason that he landed on Moloch is nobody says it during the fucking cremation of care. Like nobody uses the word Moloch. Is probably because of references in Leviticus to the sacrifice of children by burning them, and sacrificing them thusly to Moloch. So he's just making shit up, which is what he does. He just
Like,
makes stuff up.
right? How do you get that fucking far in the lore, like, right, to know about Moloch and the association of children's child sacrifice, and not know that it's not an owl? But you're right. It's because he's just making shit up. That's what it is.
That's exactly right.
Meanwhile, John was there in the audience the whole time, and he's fucking having his popcorn, and he's just pissing all over the ground with everybody else, and cheering and whatever else. Like he is in with the crowd, and here's Alex Jones in the fucking woods on his belly recording this shit. So he goes out, and John's like, "What's this all about?" He's just asking questions. People explain it to him. He's like, "Awesome, great." And they both go out and they publish two very different pieces of work. Alex Jones goes to say that this is not even just a satanic ritual. I think he combined 4 different belief systems into this. He's like, it's a fucking Babylonian, Luciferian. He's just throwing words out there.
Those are all words for satanic. If you are a conspiracy loon, seriously, it doesn't matter that Moloch was a Babylonian fucking god. We know you just mean satanic because in your eyes, every religion only exists or is only important in how it compares or interacts with Christianity. So, yeah. Okay, fine.
That's what it is. They are out there sacrificing fucking children. This is a problem. We need to be concerned about this. Meanwhile, John goes and writes a book, and he's like, I mean, they're just people. It's really not that exciting. It's really actually kind of boring and regular. And here we are. So, take that for what you will. There are a lot of people. Every once in a while, I like to stir the pot on social media, and I like to make a post and it says "fuck Alex Jones" because fuck Alex Jones. And there are people that fucking defend that guy so hard, and it's like, why? I'm not going to get on a big rant about it. I'm just saying. Are there things that Alex Jones has been right about? I mean, very, 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 very rarely. Very rarely. But just because he's been right about maybe one thing before, it doesn't mean that he is a good person and that we should support him, because we shouldn't.
No. Tell you what he wasn't right about. Sandy Hook.
Sure was.
And that should be enough for everybody to write him off and be like, oh, never listening to anything else that guy says ever again. Yeah. What a fucking monster.
Forever, So I'm just saying, Alex Jones has been Alex Jones since the beginning of time.
Yeah. I mean, you can watch this video. It's like a 2-hour fucking documentary that he made about, his fucking 5 minutes of footage or whatever, recording this cremation of care. And it is freely available online. I found it. I couldn't watch the whole thing because I just don't have that kind of patience.
Yeah.
But you can definitely get a good idea of what this ritual looks like. And, it looks goofy, but not any goofier than any other number of stage plays. It doesn't strike me as satanic. It strikes me as really fucking artsy in a way that maybe I wouldn't personally enjoy, but it's cool if other people do. I mean, I don't know. I don't see what the big deal is, Alex Jones.
Well, and just to, again, prove a point again. And I know we do it on the show a lot, but hey, maybe it's your first time here. Like I said, Tobias, you've heard of Alex Jones. Tobias, you have not heard of John Ronson.
Not until I started looking into Bohemian Grove. Yeah,
exactly. And probably nobody has. John Ronson, I did dig into him a little bit. Like I said, I'd like to read his works. He has done a lot of investigative journalism on things, and he's definitely a skeptic, like a curious skeptic, right? He's certainly skeptical about these topics, but goes into them with a clear, level head, actually does a real investigation, and then comes to some type of conclusion based off of those very real experiences and not just made up bullshit.
Well, that's why nobody ever fucking, has heard of him. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear your level-headed investigation. Tell me about how the rich people are Satanists. Exactly.
And so, again, I'm going to encourage everybody, go check out John Ronson. I'm definitely going to. I guess one of his books he wrote, you may have heard the title, The Men Who Stare at Goats. which was a real investigative piece of work into, men that could use telekinesis to kill goats or whatever. And
Well, yeah. I mean, the government's interest in a program that involved that, but yeah, totally
exactly, but then it got turned into a movie. The movie
did
sensationalized. I've never
with
seen it.
George Clooney. I saw it a long time ago. I don't really remember it very well.
Yeah. But people have heard of the movie, right? People haven't actually read the book. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. But that's him. So he's got claims to fame. It is interesting stuff, especially if you're into the conspiracy world. But especially if you're into the conspiracy world, that's not the frogs are gay, right? The water's making the frogs gay. Like if you're into like really, interesting real stuff.
Right, things that exist
Yeah. Or maybe could exist, right? Things that
or
we could
matter.
entertain. So anyway, that was my point there. We covered the Moloch situation. Again, the owl's not Moloch. It's just an owl. I don't even think it has a name. They don't call it anything. Um, I, you
No,
know,
it's just a big dumb symbol. This would be like this would be like sneaking up and looking in through the window at a fucking like frat house during
yes.
initiation
Mhm.
and seeing them like spanking each other with fucking paddles or whatever they do. I'm basing this entirely on my knowledge of like Animal House, um, and deciding that that is fucking satanic, and then going out and just getting all fucking red faced about it and screaming it into a microphone.
Yeah. Yeah. Congratulations. You're now Alex Jones. I mean, that's it. That's all it
Hooray!
takes. So what's the deal with it? To date, right now, I mean, this still goes on. They still have their yearly summer encampments. The membership costs are pretty high, but they're not impossible. So the last recorded information about it is not super freely available, but the last recorded cost was membership cost $25,000 upfront with a monthly fee of $600. So it's not, again, not completely unattainable. I would never fucking pay that much, but I can't anyway because I'm a woman. So I don't have to make that
True.
choice.
That's your fault for being a woman.
But I
Should
could.
have made better. You should have made better choices in life
I should have. You're right. I fucked up.
instead of being born a woman.
I could have been pissing out in the redwoods wherever I wanted to,
That's
and I'm
right. Now
yeah,
you just got to pee outside in Ohio somewhere.
it's
I
terrible.
guess. Yeah, that's not as good.
And then probably get it on my shoes,
Probably.
right in my socks. It's it's not a good time. So it's not completely impossible, right? $25,000, that's a down payment on a house, right?
It
That's
is.
not
I
bad
was
at
gonna say,
all.
like, if we decided that we didn't want to buy our house, and Emily was cool with me joining fucking the Bohemian Club, so I could go whip my dick out with fucking crusty old rich dudes in the woods once a year, then yeah, I guess I could be a member. But
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
not.
think that sounds as fun as owning a home.
It's not that hard. And as far as like who is a member for it, who's a member now? Well, they do keep the member list private. Some people are very proud, right? And they're like, I'm a member. But I suppose because it's private, you could just say you're a member. And like, who the fuck's going to be like, no, you're not? Alex Jones,
True.
maybe. Who cares what that guy says?
Nobody.
Nobody. So anybody can really be a member. You don't have to have certain accolades. They do still have artists, but they do have politicians and things because at the end of the day, again, the whole point of this summer encampment, they do a lot of goofy fun shit. Like they do have like different, your sleeping quarters, right? Your cabins where you're staying at. They are themed. So like I read somewhere one year they had one where the one sleeping area was Irish themed. And then all those guys had a day where they got to like dress up super Irish and like put on a show. And it was all, again, theatrics. Like it's just a fun, good time.
It's fucking drama camp for
It
like
is.
the super rich. It's drama camp for like the world's elite dudes, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this world is so fucked.
And you're supposed to go and you're supposed to check all your problems at the door and just completely forget about business and play,
And just
basically.
put on
Like,
a fun play with your friends.
right, you're just going to play. You're just there to LARP. Like that's what it is. And so, is it weird? Yes and no. I mean, why don't they want women there? I don't know. They've had a couple of honorary women members kind of,
They
but
have.
they're not really. member, because they're not. I don't think a woman's
Yeah.
ever slept on the property. Like that's not just not
No,
fucking
well,
allowed.
this is where you start to get into stuff that is a little more fucked up than just, oh hey, it's some guys who want to have an all male fucking drama camp for some reason. Because there have long been rumors floating around that it's more than just putting on plays, and pissing outside, right? Now, again, in terms of actual real whistleblowers, good luck. I don't know anybody who's put their name on one of these stories, but you hear a lot of anecdotal, usually anonymous reports from people who say they've either worked there or like actually been hired officially and have worked there, or are like local sex workers who have talked about what they claim to go on there, which does involve uh, as we sort of teased earlier, uh, tons of gay shit, which again is
Yeah,
fine. Nothing wrong with that. Not
yeah.
even, nobody's saying that. But yeah, it's could it be an excuse for some people, for some guys to get away from their families and just indulge in their own homosexual urges? Fucking probably. I don't know. Like, it makes as much sense to me as anything. And there's a lot of smoke around that, you know what I mean? So wouldn't fucking surprise me at all.
Well, what's his name? Or we were talking about Nixon and what he said about it.
Yeah, I think he was just being a dick. But yeah, no, he did say that. Let me see if I can find the quote. So
Yeah, find the quote.
all right, so okay. Just let me get this out in the open. He uses some language that I do not approve of.
Yes.
So we are all clear about that, but I'm going to read his quote verbatim. And this is what Richard Nixon had to say about it in a May 13th, 1971 tape recording when he was talking about upper class San Franciscans. Yes, upper class San Franciscans. The Bohemian Grove, which I attend from time to time, it is the most faggy goddamned thing you would ever imagine with that San Francisco crowd. So that is what disgraced former President Richard Nixon thought about Bohemian Grove. So I imagine that when he's using the F word there, what he is doing is he is just trying to insult a bunch of San Francisco artists rather
Agree.
than
Yeah.
necessarily like describe actual behavior that is happening there. But yeah, I don't know. Like, again, it's really not anybody's business, I guess, if the camp is being used for men to go there and have exercise sexual promiscuity in whatever way they decide. My only personal issue would be that there are enough politicians who have been said to attend that to go to something like that and like have fucking sex with a bunch of guys or whatever you're doing, and then turn around and in public when you're not there, try to pass a bunch of quote unquote family value fucking legislation that is openly discriminatory to the LGBTQ community is fucking bullshit. And that I would fucking hate. So
It's like how all the Republicans try to like ban abortion, but like how many abortions have they paid for?
yeah, right.
It's just
Like
bullshit.
how many mistresses? Yeah.
I mean, come on, it's very hypocritical. It's a problem. Okay, it's just ethically, it's not correct. Ethically, there's nothing wrong with gay sex, right? That's
Fuck
not the
no.
ethics
Of
problem.
course not. No,
You
no.
That's fine. It's the fact that they just like the reason why it seems like the reason why they then go and push all this legislation is to cover up the shame of the gay sex. Like just
Right.
you don't have to do that. Like literally nobody cares. It's 2025. Stop it.
Oh yeah. Suck as many dicks as you want. Like I don't care even a little.
We'll all cheer you
know?
on while you do it. Like
I mean, I might not do that, but because I don't really want to be there. But like, afterwards, if you're like, oh man, Tobias, I sucked so many dicks today, I'll be like, you know what? Good for you, politician.
Congratulations.
I'm proud of you, man.
It's living your best life, I mean, it is really ridiculous. But I like how Nixon's like, man, it's so faggy there, but I go sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Like, but he still goes, fucking idiot.
Those men know how to suck a dick.
Right. I'm just so sick of all these gay guys sucking my dick all the time. I just wish they'd stop. I don't know. It keeps happening though. So
it's very strange. But there are, you know what? Let me tell you. If you are so curious about Bohemian Grove, like Tobias says, there's so much anecdotal, stories out there of people that work there. You, listener, you can go apply for a job there. They're not hiring right this moment. I looked, but you can fucking work there. Like, there's nothing stopping you from going and working at Bohemian Grove. It's really not that serious. Now, there are weird rules about it. Like, there are allegedly, there's 2 different gates to get into the property, and you don't just drive up on the property. Like, you don't just go where you're going. Once you get to the first gate, you drop all your shit there, including your phone. You can't take phone, recording devices, anything like that. It is instant grounds for termination if you do. They pat you down, they take your ID, and then they take you to the next gate where they search you some more, and then they escort you onto the property, and they take you straight to where you work at that day. Like, wherever it is you work. Like, let's say you're a server in the dining hall. That's where you're going, and you are not to leave that area at all. You cannot go schmooze. And then there's like some other rules, like you can't strike up conversations with people because they are like celebrities. At least these people say, right? They've served drinks and shit like that to different celebrities.
Right.
There are celebrities and things like that. You can't just be like, oh my God, you're so-and-so. You can't talk to them. You can take their order and stuff. If they talk to you, that's fine. But they want you to keep the conversation like under 30 seconds, just short and sweet and to the point. Some people, of course, report otherwise. That's just any job in customer service, right? Sometimes you got people that love to talk. But they're not really reporting. I mean, people are like, what's the craziest thing you've seen there? And they're like, nothing really. I mean, it's not that crazy. People aren't even walking around naked. Like, it's not that weird. It's just a bunch of old, sometimes rich drunk dudes, because what they're saying is that sometimes people aren't even rich. Like, they can bring guests and shit, and they do. And other people are like, oh yeah, my dad went for the day or whatever because he worked for a guy that owned the business that he worked for and took him for the day. It's really not that secretive. It's really not. And I don't know why people keep acting like it is.
Well, if it's because if we have learned nothing else in our time investigating the paranormal and the anomalous and the strange, it's that people don't fucking care what's real. Yeah. They care what's fun to believe.
They do.
And satanic conspiracies, especially when they involve rich people, which, let's face it, we're all just looking for another excuse to hate rich people, aren't we? I mean, fuck billionaires. Like, we're all just looking for another reason to be pissed off at billionaires regardless. So yeah, if somebody wants to come to you and tell you some like salacious story about how the 1% meets in this sacred grove in California once a year to sacrifice kids as part of like their international satanic pedophile conspiracy. I mean, that's some shit people want to hear, because they're like, oh God, I thought I couldn't hate them anymore. Now I hate them more than I ever thought fucking possible. And I love hating rich people so much that I'm just going to keep this going. I'm going to keep this vibe fucking just going as long as I can, regardless of any evidence to the contrary. And here we are.
And here we are, and it is interesting to read like the anecdotal stories, because I believe them. They're so mundane, right? It's gotta be real.
Yeah. Oh, literally. Yeah. I remember reading one about somebody who was just like, yeah, I mean, if you want to work there, it's mostly nepotism. I had a buddy of mine who's like, comes from a rich family. And so he was able to hook me up with a job for one summer, but like, that was it, and there was nothing really particularly interesting about their story. Now, if you're a conspiracy minded person, you might say, oh, well, of course, the wealthy elite has performed some kind of misinformation campaign to go out and like find every online forum and seed them with these misinformation agents claiming to be former employees, and they're just saying a bunch of lies about how mundane it is, when really we all know that they're, I don't know, sacrificing fucking orphan children for adrenochrome or whatever. And if that's what you believe, well, God help you, because because I don't think I can. Holy shit.
I don't want to live in a
But yeah,
world where that's a thing. Like, I don't want to believe
right.
that. I want to believe that Nessie is a dinosaur. I don't want to believe that that's happening in the world. I just,
Yeah.
fuck that.
Right. Well, and it's not, for me, it's not what I want to believe or don't want to believe. It's just, what is there evidence for? You know what
Sure.
I mean?
Yeah. Right. At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
Like there is there's, I want to see like Epstein's whole list. You know what I mean? Like there is evidence of a wealthy elite, like pedophile conspiracy. Like there 100% is. But the fact that it has been obfuscated as well as it has, and certainly I think there are plenty of people who don't want it to be investigated any further than it has. Plenty of people with influence, I should say, means that what we're left with instead is a bunch of made up fucking stories, because nobody really knows how deep that shit goes. We know the circles that somebody like Epstein traveled in. We have lots of evidence of him being at the same party of lots of very wealthy, influential people. We have flight manifests saying that certain people were with him in certain areas at certain times. But, we fundamentally are not capable of investigating the world's most elite and powerful people. And so what we have instead are made up Bohemian Grove stories.
Yeah.
I don't
Pretty
know.
much. Pretty much, which is sad because it takes away attention from the real issue, because like there is a real issue. That's a
Right.
conspiracy I get behind. I don't think that dude killed himself. Look at
No.
R. Kelly. He didn't kill himself. Look at Michael Jackson. Look at Diddy right now. These people aren't killing themselves. They think they're going to get away with it because that's how big their ego is, and that's why they decided to do this in the first fucking place, is because they thought they could. That
Right.
guy didn't kill himself. I'm not gonna tell you who killed him. I don't fucking know. It wasn't me, but
Well, wait, where were you?
I wish I could take credit for that. Can you imagine? Man, I'd be a big deal.
Right. Well, the unfortunate reality is we needed him alive so we could squeal on all the
Yeah.
other fucking pedophiles who are in the same conspiracy. But
That's true. Because he would have, right? For any type of leniency at all, he definitely would have, because he's a fucking snake. Because that's
yep.
this type of people are. But Bohemian Grove's not it. I mean, again, whether or not they're out there, sucking and fucking each other, who cares? Fucking
Yeah.
let people have a good time. That's nobody's business. And whether or not, I mean, and again, if you are just like, you know what, fuck you, Asherz and Tobias, I don't believe you. Again, I challenge you, person. Go there. You can go there.
Right.
Dude did, right? John Ronson, he just walked right the fuck in. Nobody stopped him. He was probably like, I'm a journalist from Britain and I'd love to check it out. And they're like, oh, hell yeah, brother. Oh, do you have a penis? Good. Do you know how to pee on a tree? That's all we need to
Right.
know. You're good to go.
Are you comfortable having your wang flapping in the breeze with a bunch of other dudes? Perfect. You're gonna fit right in.
That's the only requirement. Yeah. Did you bring any women with you? No? Good. Okay.
Right.
And that's it. I mean, it's really that simple. If somebody else has any further evidence of anything else, I mean, I'll check it out just for the sake of, it is strange, but not in the strange way that you think it is. I'd like to see video evidence of them sucking and fucking and pissing all over each other. That'd be cool.
Asherz will watch it. She can tell me about it. I don't
Yeah.
personally need to see it.
I'll be like, well, they sucked and fucked, and then they had to pee,
Yeah.
and they
And
did
they
it.
peed all over the place. Like, well, that's what I was expecting. So
right, nobody's gonna be like, really, but like I said, like a lot of conspiracies, sometimes you want it to be something fun, and I get it. That's the sexy story, but I'd be bad at my job if I gave you guys, if I lied like Alex Jones and
Right.
told you something else. But it's just not that. It's another Denver airport without the Blucifer, and Blucifer's way cooler. So far, that even tops this. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Tobias, have any final thoughts on? Because I don't have nothing else to say about it. You got anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, there's not that much to say about it. Like, you can go into the whole history of it, but we're not a history podcast. Like, the
No.
fact is, there's nothing interesting about Bohemian Grove, really, that would fit in the general subject matter that we cover. Like, I know there are people who want it to be something that it is not, but there is no satanic conspiracy at the heart of Bohemian Grove. There just isn't. And as a result, there isn't that much to talk about. Once we've addressed that, we've addressed everything. In terms of what I would hope people would take away from this, it's that it is important to challenge our own assumptions. Just because a narrative is attractive and we want to believe it doesn't make it true, which means we have to be ready to examine our own motivations behind believing something. And as much as we want to say, in this case, hate on rich people or celebrities or anybody else that we see as being better off than us, or having some kind of privilege that we do not, um, there isn't any evidence here to support that kind of wrongdoing. And so I think if we're being honest with ourselves, we just have to say, hey, there's nothing here, and move on. And so
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to do.
I mean, there may be, some people might take issue with the fact that, like, oh, well, these people can get together, they can network. Obviously, that's what they did with the Manhattan Project. Yeah, I guess so, you guys, but they could do that at any Hilton hotel, right? Like, that's,
Yeah. What do you think they do the rest of the year?
right. I mean, that's not a conspiracy. That's just like, I don't know, literally kind of their jobs, is to have meetings and plan shit. Like, that's what they do.
Right. Like, they, like, again, and we mentioned this much earlier, but like, that is their motto, like, weaving spiders come not here. They actively discourage members from talking about business while they are on site, because it's supposed to be an escape from that. They see themselves as these heavily burdened fucking martyrs, who have to have the entire world on their shoulders, because, oh God, what would we ever do without billionaires? How would we ever fucking get by? Oh, they just have so much to worry about
I
that
mean,
they have to go to fucking Bohemian Grove. But I'm saying that's how they see themselves. Like,
yeah.
so they don't want to talk about business while they are there. And I think that they probably don't. We certainly don't have evidence of them doing so.
And it's sad because it's like, everybody's like, oh man, it's fucking weird, Bohemian Grove. And it's like, but at the end of the day, it's probably the most human that these people ever are. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, it's really
sure.
sad because they're just trying to fucking unwind. And I hate to show any sympathy towards the billionaires, but they're not all billionaires, you know.
No, they're not all.
But they're just trying to, it's the same as me going to the fucking nerd bar, Tobias, having friends over and playing this tabletop game, and they're just trying to chill. and we're
Right.
and we're like, well, that's fucking weird.
I am making fun of them for doing that, but like, literally, like, I will totally play any tabletop role playing game at any time, like, and that game is basically just like pretending to be a fictional character.
Yeah.
So,
That's what they do at Bohemian Grove.
yeah.
So, I mean, more power to them. Well, like you said, I think, it's best we just close the book on it. Case closed, right? And this has been, should have been a solved mystery because it's pretty normal, but
Right.
it would have been if just one representative had come out and been like, this is the deal. It's that close.
Right.
And
There's always going to be doubt because it's so secretive.
exactly. And, that's secret societies, though, right? That's kind of the point of being a part of a
Right.
secret society is to be secret. But what we find most of the time is that they're really not that strange. They just want something that's inclusive to them. They just want to feel fucking special, you guys. Don't we all want to feel that? Again, the most human that they've ever been are in these moments. And being a part of a secret society, well, what the fuck's more special than that? I don't know. Anyway, we'll go ahead and cut it off right here. Like I said, you definitely want to tune in to next week's episode. It's going to be super exciting. You can get that episode hopefully early and ad-free completely at the Patreon, patreon.com/Wednesdays Talk. Let us know how you're enjoying the Mothman sightings, how you're enjoying the Patreon in general. I'm sure we can add a lot more stuff if a lot more people join. You guys just got to make it worth our while also, so let us help you make it better and help us make it better, right? We can help each other out. We have a little symbiotic relationship. How's that sound?
Help us, help you, help us.
Exactly. So go check that out. And until next time, we'll see you guys back here next Wednesday.